Attention bobsled riders! You will soon be embarking on a thrilling podcast down the icy slopes of the Matterhorn, so please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet and legs inside the bobsled at all times. Auf Wiedersehen! Hello Yodelers! Welcome back. We are the Matterhorn Yodelers. I am your host today, Peter, with my other host,
Jackie
and
G5th.
And today we have some other guests with us as well. A very common guest that has visited us many times is our father Yodeler.
Hello.
And a new person who's not actually related to us.
This is the first.
It's the first time.
Congratulations.
It's almost taken us a year to get to this point.
This is an honor. My name is Austin. I'm a good friend of the Yodelers, a longtime supporter of this podcast, and it's an honor to be here at the table today, and I look forward to contributing.
Yes, he was actually, I referenced him in our first discussion, our first episode. We talked about Star Wars. I said there was one guy that I knew was the biggest Star Wars fan, and he was...
You can say it's a sickness, but it's my sickness.
And actually we're
Just
not...
keep it in quarantine.
So today we're going to talk about hoarding. No. No, today we're going to have a fun discussion about collecting. Some may call it hoarding, but today we'll call it...
You should have for your father here.
It's an intervention.
It's an intervention, guys. No. So we're going to... Because that's one aspect of being a Disney fan is a lot of Disney fans like to hoard or collect, whatever you want to call it, tomato situation.
Disney magic.
That's right,
Yeah.
Disney magic. And
Pixie dust everywhere.
we wanted to get the two people we felt probably had the biggest collections that we know personally, or at least have a relationship with that we can ask to be a part of our show. And so, we're going to talk with them and have a fun discussion about, why we collect certain things or what you collect and things like that. So let's start with our newest guest, Austin. Tell us about your collection. What do you collect?
Well, this year, 2021, marks a special anniversary for me. This is my 25th year of collecting consecutively for A Galaxy Far, Far Away Star Wars. I started in 1996. My grandmother briefly, she lives in Utah. She was like, Austin, I want you to watch this thing called Star Wars. I thought it was going to be a black and white serial, like, Buck Rogers. And I was like, Grandma, I don't want to watch your boring crap. So one day it was on, and it was Star Wars, A New Hope, but Star Wars at the time, and the Death Star Trench, and it, just blew me away. And then they're like, oh, yeah, there's, by the way, 2 more movies. One's on next night and the other night. And I was hooked. And so since then, I've been buying pieces of plastic that bring me joy and happiness. It doesn't bring my wife joy and happiness, but it brings me a lot of happiness and nostalgia and feel goods. And previous to this, I'm admitting this, previous to recording this podcast, I was just at an indoor swap meet buying more Star Wars, so I have more happiness. So that's a little bit about me.
I like how you call it happiness. Like, I have more happiness. It's not
buys happiness. That's true. And I have, this is what I tell my wife, I literally own everything that I've ever had since I was 9 years old. It's in the box, so I have now over 1,000 items still in the box. And I can remember, where I was, how old I was, how much it was, kind of the circumstances. And it's I'm buying memories. I'm preserving memories for me. And so that's kind of what collecting is for me. It's preserving memories like that.
So you still have them all in the box.
Yes.
That blew me away when we were growing up and we were collecting Star Wars toys, but we were playing with them.
Yeah.
Yes, I was playing with yours, so I was super happy that I could keep mine in the box. Because at the time, the internet was in its infancy, and eBay had just become a thing maybe a year prior. And so there's all these stories rolling in of historic collectors like Steve Sansweet and George Lopez, and being 9 years old, I was like, that's the guy. Those are the guys I want to be when I grow up. So, and as a kid, I always liked Ninja Turtles and things like that, and I just thought they looked cooler in the box. And so I don't know, just a strange thing. As a kid, I had my toys in the box, and so I enjoyed the Yodelers Star Wars toys, which is like very many and plentiful.
Was there ever like a moment where someone opened a box?
Ooh, where they like took one down knowingly and opened it.
Because you used to take the action figures and like put them on your
Put them
wall.
on the wall, yeah. So now
You do
they're
have
like,
a younger brother, so
there's been occasion where some items have walked out of like my room, and so because of that, I got a U-Haul, got all my stuff out of my parents' room, and then I moved it up to Utah, where it's now safely secured in my collection room.
In a locked closet.
In a locked closet. It's a big closet.
It is a big closet. I have had the fortune to actually see this recently.
That's right, yeah.
Where there are
I mean,
candles and a shrine and like
There's like like a seance and like a a whistle like Willy Wonka to enter it and stuff like that. And
doors
Hey,
open.
Sorry, factory.
It's guarded by stormtroopers.
This is right. This is right.
There's a whole army of stormtroopers protecting it. So, well, thank you for sharing a little bit about your collection, Father Yodeler. Tell us about your collection or collections.
Collections.
collections. And I've always loved Disney, so Disney is what I'm attracted to. Probably started as a child, as I got into the animated movies and so on. Jungle Book came out. It was always, anytime I saw Disney, I was attracted to it. I was just talking to someone that, the first book I collected wanted to collect was 1974 edition of the Art of Walt Disney. And anytime I went to the bookstore, I would immediately look to see if that book was still there because I wanted it. It was way too expensive for me at that age to
Did you let Grammy know about it? That you wanted that book?
Oh, I had my ways of always letting her know, but that's when $5 was a lot of money, and this was 10 times that, I'm sure. And so it was like not going to happen. And so there have been a lot of editions of that. That was the first one I got was the miniaturized version, the thinner one,
Which I wrecked.
Yes,
yeah,
you took
I
it to
destroyed
school
that
one day, and that was
That was confessional.
Oh,
And so-
it's known. I destroyed this book. Yes.
But I grew up in a library, and I was always attracted to the Disney books in the libraries. And so when I got older and I could start actually buying things, that's what I started buying. And so I've collected Disney books. In 74, I think, my mother got a subscription to the Disney News, and so I started collecting all of those as soon as they came out, and collected them until they stopped making it in about 2005. And
Are those magazines? Are those the Disney magazines that you would get?
yeah, the
Okay.
Disney
I remember
News.
those.
And unfortunately, at one point, we got rid of a chest of drawers, and I had left one drawer full of things, and some of them were Disney News. And when that happened, then I said, well, I'll look on eBay and I'll start picking them up. And so I ended up picking up what I lost, but I also went back and I picked up the ones from 10 years prior. And so I have a complete collection of the Disney News.
So it's complete.
It is a complete.
Wow.
Oh, they're not pristine. Some of them are eBay and kind of beat up, but all the information is there in those magazines. And then when D23 magazine started coming out,
You were the first. You were like
I'm a
day
charter
one.
member. I have all those magazines. I have all the e-ticket magazines.
I bet you don't keep any of those in a drawer anymore,
No, they're all in my bookcase, my Disney bookcases.
The grandkids, it's so jammed in there. The grandkids can't pull them out.
Yeah.
No, they're
My daughter
very
goes
safe.
out there, and it's just, she's just like, no, can't do it.
It's like Indiana Jones gotta like switch it out. Put the book in.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
You go into his office and you're afraid to touch anything because you're afraid the bookshelves are just gonna collapse.
It's gonna fall on
It'll
you.
fall on you. You're like, oh my gosh, there's so
Some
much.
of the Disney books have expanded out of those Disney bookcases because I've gotten so many. Yes,
Quotation marks.
and then I've also always loved Disney music, and so I've got just about every CD that has to do with the animated music or the music of the parks. I won't
Even
say all the
covers.
live action.
I say you even have covers of music that sound awful.
Yes, I do. Yes, absolutely.
Confessional here.
There was what was it? There was one time we were over playing games, and it was the Whale of a Tale, and I swear you didn't have it on shuffle, and we listened to different versions of that for like 2 or 3 hours. I didn't realize, like, we've been listening to the Whale of a Tale. I was like, you don't have it on shuffle? What's going on?
So yes, and as well as DVDs, Blu-rays,
You also call
Laserdiscs.
Disneykins.
Yes,
What are Disneykins?
Disneykins are small figures that are maybe an inch tall or something of all the characters and so on. And those were the toys that my brothers and I played with. Those were our toys of choice growing up. And so they're too small to be considered safe for children now. They're considered a choking hazard.
They're
but
like the size of a game board piece.
yeah, generally, as I say, they're about an inch tall of all the characters. And so
What are they made of?
plastic.
Plastic. Oh,
Plastic, very painted, very detailed.
very exquisite.
That definitely was part of my love of Disney because those were the toys. We didn't have Star Wars toys for some reason when I was growing up. Otherwise, that might have been my toy of choice. But the Disneykins were the toys of choice.
All right. I've got a question for both of you when it comes to your collections. Is there something that you need to, or something you're looking for, you're trying to acquire to complete a set? Like, is there something that's like on top of your mind as soon as I say, like, what do you need for your collection? What's that, like, one piece in the puzzle to, like, try and complete a set?
Well, what I want probably doesn't exist, so I keep waiting for it to be produced.
We'll say
3D
it, and
printers.
maybe somebody will listen.
What I will really want produced is a CD quality version of the carousel music in Disneyland Fantasyland of all of the songs. I mean, they've released in the Disneyland albums, I think 3 total that have been released of the current music coming from the Calliope and the Dumbo carousel music. But to me, that's the heart of Disneyland. You can cut anything else out of Disneyland, but you can't cut Fantasyland out of Disneyland, and that's the heart of the music.
Oh, I think we got a challenge for an episode. How do you cut it out? No, I'm just kidding.
But with that, you've tried to record.
Oh, I've got probably more than a dozen recordings that I personally have done. I have actually put a microphone on the carousel and walked away for 2 hours and come back and taken that microphone, the recording back. Way too much audience noise. But, I saw that there was a place, hey, I could do this. Hopefully nobody thinks I'm planning a bomb. I
was thinking like FBI, like espionage, like
Pre 9/11.
Don't do it. The recording isn't worth it. It's way too noisy. Too many people coming on.
you can put it on now. It's like ASMR and like, oh, it's noise in the shuffle of people.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah,
If you hate crowds, like forget about it.
yeah, that's not what I'm looking for. But the last recording I did was pretty good. I got some pretty interesting looks as I had my microphone 6 feet up in the air, but
He's riding the ride with a microphone boom.
no. Standing in my favorite spot that is no longer there in front of the Calliope by Dumbo.
Yeah. It's gone.
It got absorbed by the queue.
Yes. But, that is the number one thing that I would want now. Other things that are available, well, because of this podcast, I probably bought 3 new books because I thought of them while I was thinking about the podcast. So
You're welcome. All right, Austin, what do you got?
Well, I think
What are you looking for?
as
Go
a
to swap
collector-
meets. What are you looking for?
as a collector, it's not like what are you? It's like what type of collections are you looking for? There's not just like
Yeah.
one. There's many. And so, if we go on the Disney theme, I'm a big fan of the old Star Tours,
Yes.
like the ride to Endor. And so, it's kind of memorabilia tied to that. If we're going to stay on the Disney theme, they made an action figure worthy Star Speeder in the white and blue color. I think the red color is garbage, but I'm sorry. But I love everything Star Wars, so it's like, all right, I'll take it too. But
I'll just put it in the bag.
just put it in the bag, So there's that, and then in the days when it first started in like 86, 87, they came out with some plastic PVC figures. They're non-articulated, meaning non-moving, but it had like C-3PO, R2, Wicket the Ewok, those kind of things. And there's also, bumper stickers and pins and stuff like that from the era too that I'd love to come across. So,
What besides like Star Tours, is there something else in your collection that
all right,
just
the
eludes you?
nitty-gritty here.
Yeah, what are you going on eBay for?
Okay, on eBay. So on eBay you can dream. You don't have to spend your wife's money. So I'm
Sorry, kids' tuition.
I know. Or maybe it is a tuition. I don't know, but
You told us your collection was for
I know.
your tuition.
it is. No, it's gonna be like buried with me. Like untouched. It's gonna be like, yeah. One day it's gonna just like dissolve into oil after thousands of years. But I am looking for a complete set of the vintage Kenner figures, so from 77 to 85, on card, which is pretty tough because they're getting really expensive. I have about half right now.
What do you mean
So-
by on card? I'm not.
That's a great term because with us collectors of action figures, it's a very common thing. So in common phrase, we might call that like in the package.
Okay.
So
Okay.
a basic action figure comes on something like a piece of cardboard that can hang on a peg on the store that you see, and it's got artwork, and maybe on the back it's got kind of some other figures that you can check off to collect. So as collectors, we call that the card back, and then the plastic part we call that a bubble. And so if you want your stuff to be in the package or on card, that's what you're looking for. So it's as if you could walk into Kmart that doesn't exist, or Sears that doesn't exist, and walk up, in like 1981 and go and buy a Star Wars figure. Like, that's what I'm looking for. So there's roughly about 100, 101-ish. There's some people that are going to debate, so you're going to have some chatter on this podcast. But
Oh, please, we need
something
chatter.
So that's like my lifetime goal. And so that's kind of like my number one thing, trying to look for deals. And that was the other thing, as Father Yodeler was talking about looking for the book. Part of being a collector is getting it for a deal. Now, were you waiting for that book to like drop in price to pull the trigger to buy the book, or was it something like birthday or Christmas or something like that?
No, that the original book that I was looking at, I would have loved if it had come down in price, but it never reached the price point where I would have bought it. It was I later probably bought it either on it was probably 8 books where I ended up purchasing it years later, and I'm sure I paid way more than the sticker price back in '74, but not too extreme. But at least I got the original with the 3D Mickey Mouse and the plastic cover on it, so it still looks like it did when I went to the bookstore to look at it.
Well, that's cool.
That's awesome.
Like, it has that.
It
Like,
has
look
the
at it and you're
same-
like, whoa, I'm back. I'm that little kid in the
Mhm.
bookstore. I do that when I go to Bookman's, a little bookstore, and they have like toy section, and I always go in there and look at the Star Wars toys, and it makes me feel like I'm back at Target or Toys R Us
See?
and looking at like the action figures in the package. And, yeah, they're about the same price that they're selling it for, and I'm like, oh, this is great. I feel like I'm that little kid again, and I'm like, oh, these random characters I don't know, and I wouldn't care, but it still has the same kind of pull and feel of those. The excitement of like searching, like which ones do they have here?
I still do that every time I go to Target, and this is more of like a disappointment. I go to Target, and I'm like, there's nothing here. I always look at the Star Wars stuff every time.
You're
and I'm
opening a
like,
Pandora's box for Star Wars fans and Marvel fans and whoever's else at Target, because it's called distribution, meaning like, okay, stuff gets made in China, gets stuffed in a box, gets stuffed in a shipping container, and then gets on a boat across the Pacific to LA, and then distributed, put on trucks,
Yeah.
and distributed across Northern America or whatever. And so sometimes that figure is short pack, meaning there's not as many in that box, or Walmart just didn't care to buy that box of action figures because the last one
didn't
tanked.
sell.
Yeah, so
But it was
Watch
a
out.
bum character. Anyway.
Yeah.
it
How many
depends.
characters? How many types of Jar Jar Binks do we need?
I own 6. If you have the entire episode 1 toy line like I do if you're a psycho. You should have around 6 Jar Jar Binks. And they all look at you with dead eyes in the middle of the night. Yes, your soul is his.
So let's get the what were the thoughts of your significant others about your collection? So we'll start with you, Austin. When you told your now wife, mother of your children,
That's right.
that you have this Star Wars collection, what was her first thought?
Well, let's say this. So before we started the microphone, Peter here, he was like, do you want to go by alias? I was like, no, I'll go by my name, Austin. But my wife, I will keep her secret so that the world doesn't know her husband's crazy. She knows her husband's crazy, and she loves me, and that's enough. So when I first introduced her to my collection, we were at college. She was coming to visit the fam. And I was like, okay, this is about early 2000s. I said, do you know the movie Fever Pitch, right, with Jimmy Fallon, where he's a huge baseball fan? I was like, Fever Pitch, but Star Wars. And then they opened the room, and then she was speechless.
The one thing,
pure joy of like, I'm
Yes.
marrying this man.
Well, I had pure joy on my face. I don't know about her reaction, but...
I always remember, and I don't know if you still have those. I don't remember seeing them, the Pepsi cans.
I do.
You still have the Pepsi cans.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're currently building a new house, which there'll be a collection room that will double as a guest bedroom. And so I will have displayed those cans.
Oh, okay.
You should make that into an Airbnb room.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Night at the museum. Yes. Get your admission. I'm going to have a collector's ticket. It's going to be awesome.
The Star Wars
I know.
room.
Sign up now. Sign up now. Yes. We all gotta have our side hustles. But she tolerates my collection, and through osmosis, she's learned way more Star Wars than I would have expected, and I'm very proud of her. The rules of engagement, like Top Gun, rules of engagement are: my collection must remain in the collection room. It must not leak out or spill out, therefore it becomes hoarding. That's the other thing. Rules of engagement. If your collection does not follow rules, meaning, okay, I'm collecting this type, this era, this make, you are hoarding. If you have rules, you are collecting. I
like that. I really like
Yeah.
that. Okay.
I'll have to expand my rules.
So for me, as long as it stays in the room and stays in my mind, and she doesn't have to hear about it, then it's okay.
Does she look for Star Wars?
No, and I'm like, look, my birthday and Christmas, I'm the easiest person to shop for. Anything that has Star and Wars on it, you buy it. It's easy. You know, I've got lists of things that I'm looking for, and she refuses. So that means she's not an enabler as well. So, yeah.
And my wife's not an enabler either. My collection didn't start until after I was married, but
Yes.
just kind of gradually grew as opportunities presented itself and money became a little bit more available.
See, opportunity. I like that.
And so that's it. And then it just became, oh, well, if I've got that, maybe I should get this too. And it was like the two of the books I bought today or this week were because, oh, I don't think I have anything on the Disney Cruise Line. I should get the book. Well, there were 2 books on the Disney Cruise Line. Bought both of them. Under $8 both from Goodwill's, and so
The deal. See, there it is.
The
The
deal
hunt
is
in the
so
deal.
much
Yeah.
better.
Satisfying, yeah.
Oh.
Sweetens the pot,
so
I want to also bring up for Father Yodeler here is something growing up I was very impressed. We haven't talked about this collection yet of his, but his Laserdisc collection.
okay.
Editing, please.
Yeah.
And for anyone who doesn't know, a Laserdisc is a DVD the size of an LP record.
What's an LP record?
Oh, people know that. That you can buy in the store. Good luck finding a CD now. You can buy an LP.
This is true. This is
Yeah.
true.
And but these were before DVDs. You had laser discs, and so I collected those movies that I liked because it was the only way to get quality better than VHS. It was all better quality, and from that the best piece I have that still works. Unfortunately, I have 1 or 2 Laserdisc players that still work. Is the Song of the South
The
Laserdisc.
forbidden
Yes.
fruit.
Yes.
Disney
From,
collections.
from Japan. It's the only place I believe you could buy it
Those
was
Japanese.
the Japanese Laserdisc on Song
like
of
before
the South.
the DVD of like Star Wars Episode 1 came out, you got the
Laserdisc.
Laserdisc one from Japan.
Yes. I remember that. So we
That's
had
okay,
that.
That's right.
And we had to put like something over the TV so we're not seeing the Japanese subtitles.
That's
remember
right.
doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, because you didn't want them to see like just like Japanese writing go
Yes,
across
it
the
was in
screen to the
kanji,
bottom.
yeah.
You didn't want
I
Yoda or
totally
Darth
forgot.
Maul to be translated in Japanese.
I
We
totally
want your
forgot about
Laserdisc,
that.
but we don't want your translation. Leave that in your country board.
What was it? Yeah, those were, you had totally forgot about the Laserdisc collection until it was brought up.
Yeah, also, I mentioned I also have a map collection of all the guidebooks
Yes.
from 1955 till even last year's, before the COVID, one of each year of one of the maps from Disneyland.
So it's
And
like it's affordable when you go there.
Yeah,
you always
because
ask,
they're
"Can you get
free."
me a map?" Okay, we go and get you a map, and it's free.
It's a
It's
free.
free, yeah. So it's not a valuable collection. Isolate out each item is in
To cartographers,
No,
we love it.
They were, tens of thousands handed out each day, for free. And so it's not an expensive one, but it's fun to have all of them. Now, the first 10 years are not the one-page
Oh yeah.
pamphlets
they're
they
books.
handed out, because I just didn't feel like spending $100 for a piece of paper when I could buy the larger guidebooks that you could buy in the store, which are color and have the same information in it, for much less. So that is one caveat.
And it's cataloging history of
It's
the
cataloging
parks.
history.
Which actually did come into use, because recently my wife had a question about an attraction she swore existed at Disneyland, and I kept telling her, no, that attraction does not exist at Disneyland, nor has it ever. And she goes, no, I know it was, because remember we went from here to here, and we were zip lining, and I'm like, no, there was no
Mandela
zip
effect.
line.
there is no
Zip
zip
line.
line. and so like we brought it out and says, okay, you went during this year, and we pulled the map out and says, you see what you're talking about? You're like, no. And she even took a picture because she went on that trip with a friend, and they were saying, yeah, I was at Disneyland. And so she took a picture of it to send to her friend. So that they're trying to figure out what this mystery ride that they rode that they thought was at Disneyland. But yeah.
And Parks maps are one of the top 10 collected items of Disney.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. Again, it's free.
It's free.
It's readily available. They're pretty inexpensive
Easy
to
to
get
store.
on eBay if you want to go that route. And it's not expensive, So
So then our pins number 1 then? That would be my guess.
The list that I found wasn't in order of like the top,
Gotcha.
but pins and puzzles and the transportation trading cards.
now on pins, what
Oh,
you want to
yeah.
do, you buy the cheapest pins they have there, and then go to the traders with the cast members, and then you can trade your very cheap pins for very expensive ones.
Yep.
It was true.
Yes.
Even as a cast member, when I was working front desk, and people would be like, "Oh, can I see your pin board?" And you get it out, and the rule for Disney is like 2 pins. You can only trade 2 pins with a cast member, but it was an easy, magical moment to trade a third one.
I hated pins, and I never once, as a cast member, wore the pin thing, because you just have people like staring, because guys hang it by their hip, and so I just didn't want people staring at my hip or my groin the whole entire time. Just like, because people walk by and you see them, they're just like staring from afar, like they're preying upon someone, and I just like, no, never once was.
Well,
okay,
I'm
that
not,
as
I'm not
cast
a
member.
pin collector per se either. I have a few pins, but I was not a collector of the pins.
Peter, you have a pin card.
I do have a pin
But
collection.
it's a very specific one.
It is. I have a
See,
rule.
he has rules.
I have
It's
a
not
rule.
hoarding.
It's not hoarding. I have rules. It's specifically only pins with Walt Disney on them, which surprisingly you would think they would make more of, but they don't.
His likeness, his name, like
An
what's your
actual
criteria?
picture of
Of
Walt.
him.
So not like the
Like, there's-
statue of him.
Like, there's one where literally, like, all you have is, like, this tiny little silhouette of him, but that counts because that's
Because it's not the
it's
statue that you
identified
see at the
from
park and-
correct. So like there's a famous picture of him walking from Fantasyland through the castle, and you see his back as he's walking through the castle.
Not the one where he's got the awkward like
No.
arm over.
Arm over.
Yeah, no. So like this. So there's a famous picture of him doing that, and so they made a pin for the tour guide. If you go on their special walk in Walt's footsteps, they give you this pin, and there's a little silhouette of where Walt would be in that picture right there, and that's in the collection as
It's
well.
true, and we always go to the park and we look for
It's true.
Walt.
Anytime.
And yeah, I would always I start collections, and then I get this minimalist effect that comes over me where I'm like, I get into it and I'm on eBay and I'm searching and I know what's going on, I know what's good and what's bad, and then I just go like, whoa, this is too fast, too quick, like you got to stop, and then I end up like selling it. And but I used to collect the attractions I worked at, so like Haunted Mansion or Mission Space. And I had a really cool Tron one. It was a cast member exclusive where it was the cast member badge and it had like the life circle thing, and yeah, I remember selling it, and one guy goes, I just want that pen, because it was cast members were the only ones that could buy it. It was at their exclusive store. And I go, no, you gotta buy the whole set. And he's like, you're killing me, man. It's like, I just want one pen, and you're going to try to sell me like 150 pens I don't want. And I was all like, yep.
You can't choose. Like, that's the name of the game. Like, you
If
can't.
it's-
If it comes in like a 3-pack of figures, I can't rip that out of Walmart and walk out with that one figure. Like, same thing with these pins.
Yeah,
like,
But sometimes you get some real good deals when people want to sell the entire collection.
I always sell lower when I'm getting rid of something, because it's just like, I need it to move,
Dump it.
and somebody really, it's going to go to a home that somebody really wants it.
Yeah.
When I put it at that price, because as we go look on eBay, there are those people who they're looking for the sucker. They have the sucker's price where it's just like, that's ridiculous, but someone's just desperate and has no clue what they're doing, and they'll just buy it at that price and skews all the other prices. at
then
that
no
point.
males have to stare at your hip anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the
Jingle,
worst.
jingle, jingle.
Well, so this brings me to my next question here. So what advice would you guys maybe give to somebody that is either have started collecting something, doesn't have to be Disney related, but any sort of collection? And yeah, like what advice would you give someone to when in regards to someone starting a collection or maintaining a collection?
Collect what you love. Don't collect it for money. Collect it out of love, and that will bring you the joy that you're looking for. If you're going for money, you're collecting for the wrong reason.
Wait, so you're saying the thousands of Beanie Babies aren't worth any money?
They're worth $5.
There is a monetary value to those being
I just saw
yes.
them at the indoor swap meet. Yes, $5 for your childhood dreams. My advice would be, I'm going to piggyback on what has been said, and because I see there's a lot of fads in collecting. So people, just as Japheth has said, will get hot, they'll buy a bunch of stuff, and then it's like, well, and then you kind of burn out. There's collector burnout. But if you buy for you, then and things that should like make you, again, like happiness. You can buy happiness, and that's true. I kind of always believe that for me, each piece tells 3 stories. One, the actual story of the character. So this figure is Luke Skywalker. This is Luke Skywalker. The second talks about the story about how the figure is made. There's artists that create this. And then lastly, the story is you. Like, where were you? Were you a kid? Like, what's your attachment? And so really that's kind of my criteria. And it's like, okay, things that I only see value of, like, for myself. And that's why it's going to the grave with me.
You can look, kids, but it's coming with me.
The other is, don't collect books unless you really love them. They're heavy. They're tough to move.
Oh, you're
around.
moving them around. You're talking about
There's
that
a
last
reason
second.
why you haven't moved in so many
That's
years.
right.
Yeah.
That's one plus. I've moved in over 30 years and probably won't move for 30 years. I'm going to the grave. And my children will have to move those books.
Yep. I can see that. Okay, so I got a scenario for you. If there was there's a fire, and you have to save one thing. Your family's safe. your
We're not
important
playing. We're not
papers.
playing the family game.
We're not
This
playing-
is your collection.
Your collection. You're like,
Yes.
you go in, you're going to make it out alive. There's no adverse health effects.
Do I choose my family? Do I choose my collection?
We don't want that.
Personal dilemmas here.
So you can only. It's like the old TV show where you could throw everything in a basket and you only have a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Supermarket sweep.
Yes.
So in that scenario, kind of like you've got like a basket and you've got a certain amount of time. What would you grab? Like you have, that's the first thing you go and you grab and you can bring out of your collection.
I would go for my Pierre Lambert book on Sleeping Beauty. French published book, absolutely gorgeous. This is where each page where they have the art from the movie, it looks like it was a painted cell. The printing quality is excellent. The words don't mean anything to me. They're all in French. But the artwork is just absolutely gorgeous. And it's the movie, the princess movie I grew up with. I mean, there were only 3 princesses at that time. Snow White, Cinderella, kind of old school. Sleeping Beauty, that was a great
It's a beautiful
artistic movie. The storyline, not so great, but the artistry in that is just gorgeous, and that book portrays it the best. It was the book that I was drooling and hoping that someone would release, and then about 15 years ago, Pierre Lambert did it. He did the book. It was kind of like when I went to see Star Wars the first time. I was thinking when I was growing up, I want to grow up and I want to make this great sci-fi movie because nobody's done it. And then I saw Star Wars and I said, well, I don't need to do that in my life. It's been done. So that would be the book I would grab. And it's not the most expensive book on my shelf.
So then were you in the process of making such a book and then this book came out or something?
No, I was not
There's
in the
no
process.
magic like manuscript that's like, I'm wasted.
No,
I did.
no.
And it's in print. I can't beat it.
I actually had a similar thought because, like, at the time before I left, probably 10 plus years ago, I thought about Disney books and things like that, and I thought, you know what, there's not really a good book about the Haunted Mansion. And then shortly after that, they released this Haunted Mansion anniversary book, and I'm like, okay, well, that's done.
Don't need to worry about that.
So in this scenario, I'm usually like a go down with the ship kind of guy. So it's like all or nothing. I would die in the fire.
It's like, so it's okay, I've already fireproofed the room.
I would die for Riley. I would die for
Well, in that
Riley.
scenario, what would you grab to go with you? Like, what would be in your,
The
your hand?
realistic, yeah, as I'm melting and everything's melting around me.
Little plastic would be in your
Realistically,
hand.
there's 2 items. One is my very, very first action figure. It is out of the package. It is 1996 Power of the Force 2 Luke Skywalker in Dagobah fatigues. It was given to me on my birthday by my good friend and our good friend David, and I still have that to this day, like on display in my collection. And then the second is my first vintage figure on card in package. And it's an AT-AT Commander. It's not the most like extravagant.
It's not Luke Skywalker.
It's not Luke Skywalker, but it's my first, and it's on an Empire Strikes Back card, and it's so beautiful, and it's so beautiful. It's kind of more the sentiment of my first.
That's it.
Because
Sure.
off of these, I've built the back. On the back of these 2 figures, I've built this collection that now has brought me here to this podcast. So.
Sure.
Sure.
Whatever,
man.
No, I was like, for
Whatever
sure,
the
for
fuck,
sure,
you know.
yeah. Well, I guess I got one.
Sure.
If you had to put a number to your collection of monetary, if you want to share,
It's 8 fallen over and looking like infant priceless. What would somebody have to give me to give up that? And I thought, that I can't think of any dollar amount. That
so
I
yeah,
could put on
like, so
it.
there's not like, so if someone came here and they're like, I'll give you $1 million for your collection, would you do it?
No.
Yes.
No.
That's tuition. Then my wife would be proud of me.
Because what would I go buy with that $1 million? I go buy what I already have right now. So why would I do it? The only thing I could think of is, well, gee, I guess if you let me stay in the Disney suite above Pirates of the Caribbean for the rest of my life, maybe then I could have the magic when I wanted, anytime. But having these books and the music, I can transport myself anytime I want in my house through these books and music. So there's no price there. If I had to guess, like, I probably spent enough to where I could have bought a new car with what I spent on it. And if I sold everything, I could probably buy a new car if I was really careful. And so, some things are worth less, some things are worth more. But
You can take pictures and put them in the car while you're driving, and you're like,
That's
wow.
called distracting. Distracting. You ain't taking for that. I'm not taking to Disneyland. No, what you have is worth more than a car. I agree.
yes.
Probably a number value. It's always what somebody is willing to pay for it. Okay, my English not so good. Sorry. So somewhere between like maybe 10 to 30,000, something like that. I've not spent that near enough, like anywhere near that. Because again, it's the art of the deal, like going to bargain bins or going to like indoor swap meets or to bookstores and finding them. Yeah, at the price that they were over anywhere.
That's what I was like.
That's
I've
a
never
good
paid
day.
this price. I'm
Yep.
like, okay, I'll go with that.
Yeah, something like that. I do have pieces that are like now I see on eBay. Now with the pandemic, like thank you pandemic, like a lot of these prices have like skyrocketed.
I bet.
And I'm like, well, I'm glad I bought it when I did, as a
Yep.
kid.
Yep.
But so that's the other rule. It's like the best time to buy something was yesterday.
Yes.
The second best time to buy it is today. Unless it's on eBay or the pandemic.
Just don't assume it'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
I learned that
Yeah.
a long time ago. It's like, oh man, I wish I got into this. Like, I got into Vinylmations for a little bit, and I was like, man, I wish I got in
That's a trap,
there.
man.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it was.
That's a deep hole.
Anything that they sell it to you as this is a collectible item.
At the
It's not.
parks.
It's not a collectible item.
Yeah.
It's manufactured to be a collection.
Yeah,
So
collection's
beware
tough.
of those.
All right, I'm a pitch. I got a question that just came to mind.
Yeah.
I'll pitch the group. So, I'll go first as an example. A collection that I wish I had or started
Yeah.
would be like animation cells. Like, because we talked about like the animated movies. I think it'd be cool to have like original cells, meaning like these are actual pieces of art that they shot on camera to make the animation for like cartoons and stuff. Like, I think it'd be awesome.
It would be rare too,
Yeah.
especially like Disney related.
Yeah.
They didn't keep those. They cleaned those and used them for another scene.
Well, there's supposedly stories of like the old, like the seven men. What's their name?
Right.
The Seven Dwarfs.
No, not
No,
the seven
no,
dwarfs, like the
the
seven
old
old men.
Oh, the Seven Old Men.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Who
yeah, yeah.
did, like,
yeah.
the animation.
Nine,
Supposedly,
nine,
they, like,
nine.
yeah.
The number's
When
nine.
they were done, they like threw them all down the hall and like surfed on
Yep.
cells. Like they're like, no, we're done. Like,
They used to sell them at Disneyland, like the Sword in the Stone.
Yeah.
They would sell those cells at the Disneyland stores. So you might find a lot of those on eBay and so on, and that's where they came from.
yeah.
Somebody said, let's monetize these.
Now they don't do any cells. Now it's all computer. So definitely one of those I wish I would have did that yesterday situation.
What I wish I would have collected were Disney dollars.
Yeah.
Those
used to
are
collect those.
we used to buy
Buy
them.
them, yeah.
Collect them means you keep them rather than spend them at the Disney store or at Disneyland.
How do those go? Are those super rare?
Yeah, they don't make them anymore, and they are going up in price. So I do have a few. I don't have many, but I do have a few. But if I had been smart, I would have collected those because they are definitely getting to be up there.
See, there's a finite supply. Demand is going up. That's the other thing. that
And you
drives
never know when
collection.
they're going to cut it off. They're going to stop making something, and that's when things go like, oh, I can't get this anymore.
Yeah.
I
So it's
want
like-
this.
It's like park maps. I could totally see them getting rid of park maps
What-
eventually.
Or like the Walt Disney Classic Collection, the porcelain statues
Those
that
are
they used to
nice.
sell. They're very beautiful, but they stopped. Disney stopped their arrangement with them. I don't know what the reasoning is behind that because they were great, but the pricing on those are just getting higher and higher as more and more break, and and there's nothing to replace them. But the artistry on those were gorgeous.
That's one thing I like going to is the Disney store, is seeing those like exclusive limited edition special pieces, and then going to the Disney store now and you're just like, they don't sell anything.
Yeah, no, that was honestly the best part about going to the Disney store at the mall in the 90s was because they used to sell cool things.
Yes.
Instead
like
of just
Japheth
generic.
brings it up, like they had it lit right, they had it like on its own like shelf, like it was like they made it feel special. It's like
Absolutely.
yes, you know.
Because like that goes back to a discussion we had about growing up. My mom would give me like, all right, you got $20, go spend it, and I would look at all this stuff and I'm like, no, all this is garbage. I want the nice stuff. But obviously I don't have the money. It's more than $20, and so it would always be a hard thing for me to pick out because I knew what I wanted, but I could never afford
But that
it.
also started a collection and that we all contributed was, like, I got that rubber Disneyland magnet with
Yes.
Disneyland. And I started that, 2000. I got one magnet and then put it on the fridge, and then we all just started buying them throughout the trips. And we have this collection that's so unique of the different rides.
A
And
ton of magnet collection, that we've all contributed to.
It's a heavy fridge.
It's moved to the front door.
And
metal door.
that's something that I carry on too. It's just for trips and stuff, is like bringing home a magnet.
it had to be that soft rubber
Yes.
magnet,
Yeah.
too.
When you go to Disneyland, look for those special items that'll hold out through the years. Not the plastic things that look like they're gonna break before you get home. Look for those things that you think will last. And I've got some little tiny music boxes that play Disney music that I got cheap, at the Disney store. Those are, beautiful. You can find things, just look for them and see what your heart speaks to and pick it up. It's like that flashing Mickey Mouse pin I got.
You get so many comments. We go to the D23 convention, and it's just everyone's like, "Where'd you get that? Where'd you get it?"
Well, I got it over there at Frontierland about 10 years ago. So, that's you look for special things, that speak to you, that have that spark of pixie dust, and hang on to them, or go on eBay and look for something from your youth that you remember from your youth, and pick it up now that
Jump
you've
on
got a
that
little bit more
nostalgia
money.
train
Yes.
and just go to town.
I'll tell you, that gave me an idea for one of your birthday presents. You came in here and you talked about you had that memory of the Mary Poppins puzzle, and I was all like, boom, that's what I'm going to get him for his birthday.
And you did totally surprise me. Didn't expect that. Brought back happy memories. That
See,
Mary
you
Poppins
bought
puzzle.
happiness. I love
There
that.
it
Lots
is.
of runners like, I bought happiness, and that brings me joy.
It's going to be our new catchphrase. Matterhorn Yodelers, buy your happiness.
You're welcome. That's
Go to
my
our store.
contribution. Go to our store now.
Well, and I think how it's been said before, if you're looking to collect what you love, not what you think will be worth money.
It won't have you won't have the legs to continue it unless you love it, for sure. Well, I want to thank our guests for joining us this week. Father Yodeler, once again, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
As well as Austin. Austin, how can our listeners maybe get a little bit more information on you?
So you can look into my
Your LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Yes. Drop down. Need a second income, please. Or else. You can find me on Instagram at PowerOfTheFlex2. That's my Star Wars page. So you can come and see the things that I'm posting and all the little crazy little variants, and just like Japheth says, the things that I've got my eye on right now.
Very good. And Jackie, why don't you tell us how our Yodelers can get more information on us?
Yeah, follow us on Instagram. We're Matterhorn Yodelers. We have a Facebook page. Follow us there. We are on YouTube. Our audio's on YouTube. So if that's your preferred listening method, subscribe, like, comment. You can also email us at matterhornyodelers.
We like taking suggestions because the next podcast we're recording is from someone that messaged us, and we like the idea. We're pretty much going to like your ideas. It has to be really bad.
Yeah.
Well, that's how this came
Challenge.
to be. I was like, hey, the next time you're talking about Star Wars, let me on. So
Yep.
that's what happens.
So you can email us, and then also if you go to our Anchor page, you can also send us a voice message.
Fun.
So.
Please send us creepy ones. I love you guys. That's your Princess
Right
Leia
in the fields.
impersonation.
Oh.
It's General Leia. I think that's General Leia.
I missed you. Come back to me.
And let us know, what are your favorite collections? And we want to hear what you guys are collecting.
Yes, definitely.
But until next time, auf Wiedersehen. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Matterhorn Yodelers. Please remember, before your bobsled comes to a complete stop, to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And remember...
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.